The unthinkable has happened once again. Angel Reese, the self-proclaimed face of the future of the WNBA, has flat out refused to take the court. Fans were waiting, cameras were rolling, her coach was preparing lineups, and yet, Reese didn't play. Why? Officially, the excuse was back pain. But too many, this wasn't an injury at all, it was a strike, a silent protest, a calculated refusal to play for a team she clearly no longer respects. And the shockwaves have rattled the entire WNBA. Is Angel Reese sabotaging her own career? Has she already quit on her teammates, her fans, and the very league that crowned her its next superstar? Tonight, we break down the fiery drama, the behind-the-scenes betrayal, and the looming question every basketball fan is asking. Has Angel Reese played her last game for the Chicago Sky? The basketball world has been left speechless, stunned, and divided, after yet another dramatic twist in the ongoing saga of Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. Once hailed as the future of the league, the player who was supposed to carry the WNBA into its next golden era, Reese has instead become the centerpiece of chaos, controversy, and outright confusion. Her refusal to play has not only raised eyebrows but has sparked heated debates across locker rooms, media panels, and social media. And make no mistake, this isn't just about an injury. This is about power, respect, and the growing fracture between Angel Reese and the organization that once embraced her as its crown jewel. Reese entered the league with unparalleled hype, from her standout college career at LSU to her bold, unapologetic personality. She brought with her not only skill but an aura, an energy that fans either loved or hated, but could never ignore. The WNBA, desperate for a new star to command mainstream attention, practically rolled out the red carpet. Media endorsements piled up, highlight reels went viral, and Reese was marketed as not just a player but a cultural movement. She was the Bayou Barbie, the outspoken figure who refused to be silenced, a player who demanded to be seen and heard both on and off the court. But with great hype comes even greater expectations, and this is where the storm began brewing. While Angel Reese's rebounding prowess and energy were undeniable, questions quickly surfaced about her consistency, her shooting ability, and most importantly her ability to lead a team to wins. The Chicago Sky, banking on her potential, soon found themselves facing more losses than triumphs, and frustrations began to spill into the open. Reese, never one to bite her tongue, started making subtle and sometimes not so subtle remarks about her teammates, her coaching staff, and even the organization's direction. What was supposed to be a partnership, built on mutual trust and ambition, quickly turned into a toxic relationship filled with suspensions, and now, outright refusals to play. Just last week, reports emerged that Reese had been suspended for half a game by the team for conduct deemed detrimental. Behind the scenes, whispers suggested that her blunt comments in a major newspaper interview, where she seemed to throw teammates under the bus and question the leadership of veterans, were the final straw for many inside the locker room. Then came the breaking point, a scheduled game where fans, teammates, and coaches all expected Reese to return. She had warmed up, she had stretched, she had gone through head coach Tyler Marsh even reassured reporters before tip-off that Reese was ready to go and that it would be business as usual. But when the second half rolled around, Angel Reese was nowhere to be found on the court. The explanation, a mysterious back injury that seemingly appeared out of nowhere. To skeptics, this was no injury, this was a silent protest, a deliberate strike against a team she no longer wanted to represent. And that's where the shockwaves began. Fans flooded social media, some defending Reese and insisting that the organization had failed her, while others accused her of quitting, of turning her back on her teammates, and of tarnishing the reputation she worked so hard to build. To make matters worse, league insiders began speculating that this refusal to play was no random act but a calculated move, a signal to the rest of the WNBA that she is ready to be traded, that she wants out of Chicago at any cost. This isn't just another chapter in Reese's story. This could very well be the defining moment of her career. Has Angel Reese crossed a line she can't come back from? Or has she, once again, proven that she will do whatever it takes to control her own destiny, even if it means walking away from her team mid-season? One thing is certain, the WNBA has never seen a star quite like Angel Reese, and after this latest shocking stunt, it may never look at her the same way again. The Chicago Sky thought they had weathered the storm. They believed the tension and whispers surrounding Angel Reese's rocky rookie campaign had begun to fade, that her clashes with teammates, coaches, and even media critics were simmering down. But in a stunning turn of events, Reese has pulled the ultimate card. She has flat out refused to play. The league, the fans, and even her own locker room are left reeling as the news spreads like wildfire. This wasn't just a simple case of an athlete sitting out a game for rest or a minor setback. No, this was something much darker, much more explosive. Reese, the self-proclaimed Chi-Town Barbie and face of the Sky's future, made it clear she would not step on the court under the current circumstances. It was a direct challenge not just to her franchise, but to the entire WNBA. The message was simple but loud: either things change, or she walks away. Behind the scenes, sources claim the tension had been bubbling for weeks. Reese, who came into the league with sky-high expectations and a massive following, felt disrespected and undermined. From her perspective, she wasn't just battling opponents on the hardwood, she was battling her own team's system, a coaching staff that she believed didn't trust her, and a media narrative that painted her as the villain. Add to that the constant comparisons to Caitlin Clark, and the pressure became unbearable. The first twist came not in the locker room, but on live television. Just hours before the Sky were set to take the court, broadcasters confirmed what fans feared: Reese would not be suiting up. The cameras caught stunned teammates warming up in silence, their faces betraying confusion and anger. Reporters scrambled for answers, and speculation flooded social media. Was it an injury, a protest, or a full-on quit? Then came the bombshell. Through close insiders, Reese let it be known that this was no injury. This was intentional. She was refusing to play because she believed she was being set up to fail. According to whispers, she accused her coaches of stifling her game, of forcing her into roles that didn't highlight her strengths, and of treating her more like a liability than the star she believes she is. This wasn't just a benching. This was a battle for power. Fans who once adored her flashy confidence were split. Was this bold move the sign of a strong athlete standing up for herself, or the mark of a diva who couldn't handle the grind? Either way, the WNBA had never seen anything quite like it. Players refused trades, players demand contracts, but outright refusing to play while healthy. That sent shockwaves. The Sky's front office was blindsided. Just weeks earlier, they had banked heavily on Reese's rising star power to sell tickets and bring a new generation of fans into the arena. Now, that very star was threatening to implode from within, and the timing couldn't have been worse. With Chicago still fighting for playoff positioning, their most polarizing player had just left them hanging. But here's where the real twist takes shape. Insiders claim Reese isn't just making this decision in isolation. Rumors suggest she has allies, other players in the league who feel similarly about how they're being treated, overshadowed by media darlings like Caitlin Clark. Could Angel Reese's refusal to play be the spark of a larger rebellion? Or was this simply the implosion of a player who bit off more than she could chew? The WNBA finds itself staring at a nightmare scenario. If they punish her, they risk alienating one of their biggest social media stars. If they bend to her demands, they risk setting a precedent that any player can hold their team hostage. Either way, the league is in uncharted territory. And as Reese sits courtside, unapologetic, her decision has flipped the script. What was supposed to be another night of WNBA basketball has now become the stage for one of the most shocking power plays in league history. When the news broke that Angel Reese had refused to take the court, the ripple effect was immediate and overwhelming. Fans, journalists, analysts, and even rival players couldn't hold back their reactions, and the spectrum of responses revealed just how polarizing Reese has become in such a short time. On social media, chaos erupted. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok lit up with hashtags like #ReeseWalkout and #WNBARevolt. Some of her most loyal supporters rushed to her defense, praising her for standing her ground. They argued that Reese wasn't just refusing to play a game, she was sending a message about respect, treatment, and how female athletes are often undermined by the very organizations that profit off their names. These fans painted her as a fearless warrior, the kind of outspoken athlete the league desperately needed. But not everyone saw it that way. A flood of critics slammed her actions as selfish, immature, and damaging to her team. Former athletes weighed in, warning that no player, no matter how talented or marketable, could afford to put themselves above the game. This is a team sport. One analyst blasted on ESPN, "You don't get to quit when things don't go your way. You play. Period." That sentiment was echoed by a wave of fans who felt betrayed. For them, Reese's refusal to play wasn't empowerment, it was abandonment. Inside the WNBA, the reaction was even more complicated. Some players quietly expressed empathy, admitting they too had felt the weight of constant media narratives, unfair comparisons, and internal team politics. "People don't understand what we go through," one anonymous player reportedly told a journalist. "Sometimes, refusing to play is the only way to be heard." But others were furious, claiming, Reese's move disrespected the hard work of her teammates and threatened the credibility of the league itself. The Chicago Sky organization, caught in the middle of this firestorm, struggled to control the narrative. In carefully worded statements, the team avoided criticizing Reese outright, instead framing the situation as internal and under review. But their silence spoke volumes. Reporters noted the tension on the bench, the awkward body language of her teammates, and the glaring absence of public support from key figures within the franchise. Industry leaders also took notice. For the WNBA as a business, Reese's refusal to play presented both a nightmare and an opportunity. On one hand, it was a PR disaster. The league looked fractured, volatile, and unstable. On the other hand, the controversy drew unprecedented attention. Media outlets that rarely covered women's basketball were suddenly running headlines about Angel Reese's defiance. For a league fighting for visibility, this was exposure they couldn't buy, but at what cost? Even NBA players weighed in. Some applauded her courage, calling her a modern-day trailblazer willing to disrupt the status quo. Others criticized her for damaging her reputation so early in her career, warning that endorsements, contracts, and trust could evaporate overnight. The general public was left divided, torn between admiration and outrage. For some, Reese was a bold figure standing against a broken system. For others, she was proof that stardom had gone to her head. But no matter which side they fell on, one thing was undeniable. Angel Reese had captured the spotlight, and the world was watching her every move. Just when it seemed like the dust was starting to settle, the story took an even darker turn. Rumors began swirling that Angel Reese's refusal to play wasn't simply about back pain, frustration with teammates, or even a silent protest. No, insiders started whispering that this was all part of a calculated move to force her way out of Chicago altogether. Sources close to the situation claim Reese and her camp have been quietly maneuvering behind the scenes, eyeing franchises that could offer her a bigger platform, more respect, and a chance to build her brand without internal conflicts. Suddenly, her absence on the court wasn't just a mystery injury, it looked like a chess move. If true, this would mean Reese had essentially staged a player strike against her own team. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Instead of caving, the Chicago Sky might be preparing to call her bluff. Executives reportedly began exploring trade scenarios, but not all of them were flattering. Some insiders believe the Sky are so fed up with her antics that they'd be willing to ship her out for far less than her perceived value, a shocking downgrade for a player once hailed as the face of the future. Could Angel Reese, the self-proclaimed Bayou Barbie and one of the most hyped rookies in years, suddenly find herself unwanted, undervalued, or even blackballed by the very league that once rolled out the red carpet for her? And that's where the cliffhanger comes in, because if Angel's gamble works, she could land in Dallas, Connecticut, or another hungry franchise ready to hand her the spotlight. In that scenario, she wins big, proving that even in her early career, she has the power to bend the league to her will. But if her gamble backfires, then she risks becoming the next cautionary tale, a player whose reputation soured faster than her talent could save it. Even more unsettling is the timing. The WNBA draft lottery looms on the horizon, and many believe no team will make a blockbuster move until they know exactly where the chips fall. That leaves Reese in limbo, waiting, while the league itself holds its breath. Will she return to the floor, silence the critics, and remind everyone why she was considered a franchise-changing talent? Or will she double down, sitting out and daring the Sky to trade her before her star power collapses? The truth is, no one knows for sure. What we do know is this: Angel Reese has already changed the conversation around the WNBA. Love her or hate her, she's forced fans, players, and executives to confront uncomfortable questions about power, loyalty, and what it really means to be a professional athlete in today's game. And so the stage is set. The Chicago Sky are on the verge of making a franchise-altering decision. The league is watching closely, and Angel Reese is standing at the center of it all. Will she rise from this storm as a revolutionary icon, or will this saga mark the beginning of her downfall? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the Angel Reese story is far from over. And there you have it. The Angel Reese saga is only getting wilder by the day. She's refusing to play, the Chicago Sky are running out of patience, and the entire WNBA is bracing for the fallout. But trust me, this is just the beginning. Will she be traded? Will she come back stronger? Or will her career take a shocking turn nobody saw coming? Stick with us, because we'll be covering every twist, every rumor, and every bombshell drop. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The next chapter is coming, and you don't want to miss it.